a lot of you at our Tech Tuesdays before, and there's some new faces in the room, which is exciting. And I'm Harmony. I'm with Shop Local Raleigh, so welcome. Thank you guys for coming this morning. Grant is with Raleigh Diamond and does also his own stuff on the side. I don't ask too many questions about what he does in his free time. But we're really excited to have him today talk about Fear No Video. And I don't know if any of you guys saw us on Facebook Live Monday. We tried out a little teaser to see if it could, drum up some buzz for today. So if you guys saw that, we welcome any feedback there. And we'll just go around the room and introduce ourselves. We'll start with Grant and work our way around. Get to know everyone just a little bit before we get started.
Okay. I'm Grant, and this is the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, right? You're going to be getting to know me a lot more. But first of all, thank you to Harmony. Thank you to Shop Local Raleigh. My own history. Come from Hawaii, born and raised, moved to Chicago, lived in Raleigh for 3.5 years. Love it. I do work part-time at Raleigh Diamond. Before that, I was on the agency side, the brand side, and had my own business called Greentastic Designs for 10 years, which is actually how I got involved in video in the first place, back when you remember those little 14x4 modems. So it's just great seeing how we can all be empowered today. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you all and learning about what is your goal, your number one challenge with whether it's doing video or being camera ready, and thanks for this opportunity. I will let you know, like with anyone who tries to do everything, you always forget something. What I forgot was the power cable to my laptop. I have a 4-year-old laptop, so if at any time things go poof, we have a separate laptop that we'll be switching to, and we'll have a nice little intermission. Hopefully the video gods will be in our favor today. We'll find out. So I would like to share a story. I walked into Raleigh Diamond about 10 months ago. I never really ever thought I would work at a jewelry store. I live about 4 minutes away from there, and I didn't even know they existed. And I walked in there and thought, oh my gosh, what a showroom. These people are actually fun. For a lot of guys, shopping for jewelry is intimidating. Not this place. It was fun. It's the only place I know of any jewelry store that has an open bar. Yes, for real. I've done a video of that. So there is James in the center. His family is a family-owned operated business, and this photo was taken before I joined, but I thought, hey, nice, friendly, open. Now, not exactly the standard of what you expect of a jewelry store. That can be very stuffy and sometimes pretentious. So James told me about a story he had with Tony Robbins. He comes, and James is like me, impulsive, excited about a lot of things, like a lot of business owner would be. And he just came in while we were getting the store open. He said, hey, Grant, you like following, like these business coaches, right? Or these motivational speakers. I saw Tony Robbins, and man, I went to his program, and he was just awesome and amazing, and he's motivating me. And I walked across Kohl's. I said, oh, you walked across Kohl's? Yeah, I walked across Kohl's. I walked across them twice, and it was me, and he was just so into it, and we were all so into it, and we were all like, woo! And it's like, I have no fear now. I can do anything. And so I say, okay. So will you do the video you promised me you would do 6 months ago when I first started talking about yourself and your story? Oh, you want me to do video? That's way scarier than walking across Kohl's. So the thing is, for a lot of people, it's a fear. It doesn't matter if you're really comfortable in front of people. It doesn't matter if you work in sales or customer experience. It doesn't even matter if you've done video before. Some people just feel so apprehensive about the unknown, give them control. It doesn't even matter that there are millions of people doing it today. And at first, what I thought was stunning to me in business. The longer that I worked there and talking with other local businesses, I got to understand and empathize more about this kind of fear. Because we know, if we're here today, we realize there's a value. I don't have to spend time like I do sometimes at other businesses. I first would work in the overall online marketing space, SEO, usability. I was a professional graphic designer. I had my own business, so I was often brought in to do business strategy, a lot around websites. And so I would have to make the case. A lot of you here understand that video is important today for what is your end goals. Most often that comes down to sustainability and profitability. And it's demonstrated well enough to say is, I need to get into this, I need to do it better. But the question for people is, should I be doing it? Should it be someone else? Why can't it be someone else? What if I'm doing something wrong? Now, what I'm going to share with you is, you see, James did a video beforehand. He did a professional video before I came in, and I saw it. And I'm gonna play it for you.
Well, Raleigh Diamond actually started off as a very small company named Raleigh Gold Jewelry. We opened our first location in 2008 in Briar Creek, and that was so successful that in 2012 we opened a second location. In 2014 we sort of saw a bit of an opportunity here on Glenwood Avenue to open the largest jewelry store in North Carolina. We're differentiated by the fact that we offer a larger selection, we offer better value, and the customer service here is second to none. I mean, where else can you walk into a jewelry store and sit and have a discussion with the owner these days? Very few small family jewelry stores left these days. I think we've done a great job based on the response we've got from the public. Our company continues to grow. We specialize again very much on engagement rings, designer engagement rings. We have close to 20 designers in-house now. We do have a focus as well on designer estate jewelry, so you'll find that we have a large selection of that. And we have a lot of young and trendy jewelry as well for the millennials. We have a lot of the rose gold designs, a lot of the geometric type designs that are so popular now. There's definitely something here for everyone in every budget. I mean, keep in mind, if you line these cases up from end to end, it's longer than a regulation NFL football field. This is a very, very large selection, probably the largest collection of jewelry in North Carolina. The feeling that you get when you walk into Raleigh Diamond, I can assure you, is going to be a step up from what you're used to.
Okay, so that was the video before I came around. Now, maybe to the untrained eye, you might think, well, it's a video. It's like what I've seen a lot of times. James told me that that was the most uncomfortable he's ever been. He wasn't himself. Now, it's good technical quality, and for somebody who came in who didn't know anything about the business, like a lot of videographers do, they do what they can. They try quick shots of the store, try the jewelry. However, that person who's also in the video there, she no longer works there. He never got to tell a story. His passion is why. He's wearing an outfit that he never wears around the store. So it's like he's not even comfortable in his own skin, and it shows. And it doesn't let you get to know who is James. And that's the problem there, is we feel like we're trying to be something we're not, and people who are on it, they can see past that. And it's not about doing a commercial today, it's about being social, being genuine, being yourself. Like if somebody saw you in there, it'd be the same way if they saw you online, and merging the two together. So when I came on, I tried to get a feel for who are the people that could have potential to do video. And at that time, there was 3 people. There was Becky, who had worked in the industry for 20 years, along with Gerald. Gerald had acting experience, and Nancy, who was the general manager, bubbly personality. Different styles. And it was going to be a feeling out process for me to figure out what to do. Now, they had seen some of my stuff beforehand, but they knew that I was a speaker at a lot of events and conferences, and I took this because I thought this is a great way for me to practice doing what I never really wanted to do, or that I never really got to do, which is see customers come in, see people come in who you can say directly, what do you want, what do you want, what are your pain points, what's your stories? And you don't get that at a lot of bigger companies. There's this big wall between that, and you don't really know if what you're doing is working. But when I got to be starting to do stuff, and I would get feedback with the great stories of some of our customers, and then when they posted on social media and saying how relaxed they felt, and I could start sharing this with people on the staff, because at first it was, well, that's why we hired you to do social media, because we wouldn't have to, not realizing social is what everybody does. And if you're in sales, if you're in customer care, it's crazy to not do it. In fact, that's the expectation that your customers have. It's the expectation your clients have. It's the expectation the media have, people you network with have. That's the way things are, and that's a good thing. And does it work? Well, this was a lady, Carla Fitzgerald, who, when I thought, let's just try something fun because our store is the main thing. I mean, it's what stands out, and do Raleigh Diamond's Got Talent. And I said, just show off your talent. It took some time, it took putting it out there for a while and being persistent. But when she came and did a great song, she got 2,700 views, she got 130 shares, and all these comments. And she now did word of mouth. I didn't have to prompt her for that. But that is the best type of, if you want to call it advertising, because it's genuine. It doesn't feel like a commercial. Too many businesses today still think that video and even social media is just broadcast as a billboard. And that's why they fail. Because people say, you don't get me, you don't care about me. But you don't even necessarily have to be hitting people over the head with, this is what we have. People are going to naturally be curious, and then when they follow you, when they like you, it's on their terms. And now you've built trust and likability. And proof of that is we have our video series on Facebook. I will say, because even though I have a YouTube channel, even though we do stuff on Instagram, and I've done stuff in other places too, is for this type of company, it works really well because they're local. And local businesses can still do pretty well with a Facebook business page. Sometimes it works better if people have their own individual profiles because that shows up higher, and you can put video there because it's one-on-one. Like if you're a business owner or salesperson, when you're saying something as an individual, it works better than as a page. But that said, we're doing pretty good. Like Alice is here, his own event right here. You can watch her performance too. 523 views, lots of comments, announcing a contest, 2,100. And some of these things don't have to do any advertising for. Or when you do a boost, it's really targeted. So you really get to know your audience very, very well. Even something as fun as, oh, we had 50 geese outside of our store, and I just went inside, boom, go. When I can take something like that, I can do something I could never do with a standard piece of camera equipment. And you get that golden nugget, and you get all these comments, and now people get curious. So these are just some examples of high views. The very first customer story that I did, 7,000. Now they were connectors. They knew a lot of people. They shared around. And while that necessarily didn't always translate to it equals how many people come in the store, it's like social capital. It builds. It's like when you have a farm or when you have an investment portfolio. It builds over time, and that's how you need to look at social. Unless you're running ads, which you can do very well, like I do for, like this month, it's Rubies is the gemstone, 20% off. So I do a Rubies FAQ series. The great thing is I can measure what works, and then proof is what people want to see to say, I need to get into this, on this. Because a good salesperson knows who isn't doing video. If I'm not doing it, someone else is, and I become less relevant. I become less relevant to my customers. I become less relevant to my position. That's the reality. On the YouTube channel, what I find also works too, and again, this is about building trust. It's not about getting the highest numbers. It's about reaching the right people who have the right question at the right time. I have an SEO background. I'm actually a certified YouTube audience development manager, which is a nice way of saying I know how to make stuff get seen. I know what people engage with. I can see their watch time. And you can do this all the way down on the local store level. So I looked at the top questions people have. I'd ask the salespeople, what are the questions people had? I would go on sites like Quora, and so I can combine those two. Gerald is a very fun personality, flamboyant, and I allow for the stuff he's really comfortable with talking about. I leave the things that may not have anything to do with him, but I edit it well. But the truth is, sometimes you don't even need to edit when you teach people about, okay, you got 60 seconds. And then you practice again, and you practice. And then you're not even having to think about the time. It's just, you think like an editor. And on our own Instagram page, I'll have some fun stuff out there. Like first, I could even be showing a video of, okay, look at our latest jewelry from all sides. Why? Because sometimes photos don't work and people don't want to see it from a designer because they know how touched up it is. I'm showing it right in the store, sometimes a this just in. That latest photo we have is a thank you from a customer that gave flowers to our general manager, Nancy. And so oftentimes it's just about showing your customers how much they love what you do. And you don't even necessarily need to be on video, but before a shoot, I'll do a series called What's Gerald Thinking Right Now? And sometimes it's what did he have for breakfast? And when we're doing a shoot, he's always got food on his mind too. Talking about his belly and how he needs to lose weight. So I get people who are on Instagram saying, we want more Gerald. And just so you know, I've done this a lot beforehand. I used to work for an agency doing social video, building YouTube channels. One of them was College Foundation Inc., and I built the College Foundation North Carolina channel. And I found that while the organization or the agency was spending so much money on ads with stuff would appear on television, the stuff that was getting the best responses for people actually signing up and doing stuff were the stories, were parent stories, for the ones that I did and I shot. And it didn't have to be anything fancy. It was just something that said, you get me. And they were willing to go on camera. And I've done this at several internet retailer conferences in Chicago, which is the granddaddy at McCormick Place. So I've been able to see what translate from bigger companies and that you could do on the small scale, even down to an individual. And yes, I do have my own YouTube channel. I appear on video myself. I don't try to promote myself. I have 3,100 subscribers just by being me, just by engaging, just by paying attention to the comments on there. And sure, you get weirdos, you get people that are pretty vulgar. The more you put yourself out there, I know how to handle it, I know how to delete that stuff. And I've done series with people, and I love talking about stuff of how to have better conversations. Why? Because it's in my wheelhouse. I'm comfortable, but I'm one of those anomalies. I could talk about anything. I don't know anything about nuclear physics, but if you start me on it, I might find something that can relate to the audience that I'm thinking about too. And more and more doing this, I found my gift is I can bring a good conversation out of anyone. Whether you're an introvert, extrovert, whether you don't think you know enough, when I see your eyes get big, that's what I lock in on. And I found that's been my gift, is how can I make any interview be a really amazing story that doesn't even that only appeal to your target audience, to a general audience. So what I'm going to do my best to answer today, why be on video, which I've kind of explained a little more, but I'm going to get into something that if you are the decision maker or you need to convince someone, some really basic stuff, how you can be confident on camera and how you can help others be comfortable, whether it's yourself, your coworkers, people you want to do something together with. Maybe you have a speaking event and you want some practice with that too. So why video? Okay. A lot of people will talk about, here's the numbers and how well you're going to search engines. A lot of us know that. I'm fascinated by the psychology behind it. And in my early years of exploring the video marketing space, I worked as a freelance journalist, contributor on the side. And I would go to summits and I would get a free pass on them. And one of them was called the Video Commerce Summit, and this was in Seattle. The gentleman here, not a household name, but very important in the field of video, Dr. BJ Fogg, who would talk about persuasive technology. And we talk about how do you persuade people. Manipulation is making people do something without necessarily realizing you're making them do it. Persuasion is you're making them do it, but it's their choice. It's in their best interest, and you're thinking about that. And that's what so much of what we do in marketing today, as so much we do in business today, is to be, you can either be persuasive or you can be manipulative. And I always go for persuasive because that's a positive thing. And this is what Dr. Fogg said. Why does video work so well? And this is 2010. We're not even talking about today. 2010, he said, this is where things are going to be more and more and more and more till it's going to be what people are expecting and demanding of you, where we are today. Back then he said this, it's a highly effective persuasion technology, and it's become one of the most effective ways to motivate people towards certain behaviors. What do you want people to do in your business? Video, just like you're seeing me here. With video online, it's on your terms. You can fast forward, you can go backwards, you can look at something else. You have to earn that attention because now you have so much competition. So customers do expect this today. I've had customers always say, where can I, do you have this up on YouTube? It's on Facebook. I don't know if your customers say that, but unprompted, people want to know why. It shocks me that people who, say, work at the jewelry store I'm at, or I'm in other jewelry stores, and they say the same thing over and over and over again, and it's one-to-one, and never think of a video as one-to-many, plus they can share that video with someone. How often, I can say this, is jewelry stores are also told that, you have to keep on reminding people about the sale or what they bought. What they don't think about is how can they do social selling? Like, remember that question you had? We did a video on this. Or you even find someone else's video. That way people don't feel pressured and you're being truly helpful. A lot of people who do customer experience today completely forget that. And what happens? People just click off or they unfollow because they're tired of just basically feeling like you just want me for my money. So opportunities with this. When I give a presentation in the past to companies about why to do video, I'll first find out what is important to them. Like, what are their pain points? Sometimes, it's directly, can we show how this demonstrates will bring us sales, how we can do it at a low enough cost, depending on what our return would be. Sometimes it might be, I'll take the example of Zappos, a bigger company. They did video because it was fun, personal, but it was also a way to cut down on returns that they were getting, because now people could see the product. And we're talking about in the early days of shoes before it was other things. When it was shoes, some people would be hesitant towards it, or if it was just a picture, they weren't really getting what they wanted. Even with 360, when someone was telling a story on video about it, a personal story, people felt more comfortable with their purchase, thus less returns. Higher employee satisfaction if people feel like you care about them. Some employees don't want to do it all, others want to feel like they're validated and they want to have that choice, plus they realize I'm getting out in front of the audience too. Whole bunch of reasons you can. And the truth is this, it's now a lower entry for participation than it's ever been before. If you are a social person, it works great. If you're not a social person, you should probably leave it to someone else to do. Or I would also question why you're in business, because you can turn it on, you can turn it off. And there's always a way to find out about what are you passionate about, what do you care about, what is your why, who do you care about, and tapping into that. And if you ever need help, this is one of the first books I read on customer experience, and a friend of mine, Frank Eliason, who used to be the client experience director for Citibank and Comcast. And he dealt with all the problems on a large scale about people not understanding the power of video, especially when customers were showcasing, I don't know if you remember the one of the Comcast technician who fell asleep on the guy's couch, and the customer videoed that. At first, some people go into PR and just think of, okay, we'll act like it never happened, until people realize you can't do that anymore. Customers have power, we all have power, and that's a good thing. But you do it as a person, you don't do it as a commercial, you don't do it as a brand. We don't trust brands as much as we have to trust people first until we have that warm and fuzzy with the brand. Then we still want to deal with the people. That means you. If you're just pushing products out and there's no way to get to know the person, you're at a huge disadvantage. So there are valid reasons for not doing video. There are valid fears for not doing video. And I dealt with this for many years. Places that I would go, and sometimes it was just poor planning on the part of the client, never told the people working there, oh, we're doing video. That has happened to me many times. A lot of it comes down to, on the personal level, is I don't look good, I don't sound good, I don't feel good. And I will be honest, especially for women, worrying about, oh, I need to wear this hair, my hair a certain way, I need to have my outfit a certain way. The more you do it, you don't care, you stop caring. But at first, that's a fear, and you have to acknowledge that. But also another part is that, well, what if the company culture and you don't have a boss that says, okay, you're going to spend time doing this, doing video with them, because they could always be thinking of, am I supposed to be doing something else? Sometimes there's company culture issues. But the other part is, have they gotten to know who's doing the video of them? See, the problem what also happened with, there was a good videographer that you saw with James, but he never knew the guy personally. And so we didn't have that kind of connection. What I do is I talk with people. Sometimes I'll say, hey, how about some time for coffee? So I win their trust. They get to know me and they feel much more confident. And a lot of video producers completely leave that part out because maybe they're charging by the hour, but they don't make the case for this is part of doing a good video. And like I said, it's sometimes they hear stuff that is what hurts them by that they think, oh, it needs to be an actor or it needs to be big, well produced. And even if they see all these videos and all successful, they still go back to that. Why? Because it's what they think they know, what they think they're familiar with. And the other part is, you see in the bottom, why are we doing this again? It's not explained to them why we're doing it. When people don't know, they feel uncomfortable. When people feel uncomfortable, they feel they could be screwing up, and that could hurt their job security. So there are reasons why businesses make excuses for fear. A lot of this, I would say, is it's the fault of the business not planning things out, not really understanding about how to deal with the issues that plagues their own company. Such as, okay, people aren't trained, well, take the time. Don't use it as an excuse. What if our employees leave is a big thing? What they forget is that when people see that it's your brand, it's on there, they're going to associate that with you. And the benefit you're going to get from someone doing a video doesn't matter if they leave right away. It's people now associate that with you as long as you have someone else to keep on doing things and being consistent. And if you have problems with customers, ask people what those problems are. And then when you show you're taking care of them, a video is a perfect place, like from the CEO, from the boss, like when Domino's did that and said, yes, we screwed up. Here's what we're doing. And it's a way to turn somebody who is a troll into an evangelist, because it shows you care. But there's also another problem sometimes is people are control freaks about their brand. Here's the reality. You don't control your brand on it. If you're not on there, then other people are dictating the conversation. They are the ones saying what you're about. A brand is what other people say about you, but you have to be the catalyst. And what could it be used against you? Such as, what if you screw up? What if you say something that you didn't mean to say? That is the case in business with everything. And sometimes people place too much on video like they would do with anything else. That's also why it's a good idea sometimes that if there are possible legal issues, to work with a professional. I myself have actually background in legal issues with online video. So it's always good to talk with a professional about what are the issues we might need to consider if we're going to do this, and you have these concerns. The problem is they just don't even bother, because it's just thinking about going right to no. So I'm going to show you some tips, and if my battery doesn't die on me, depending on how we are on time, I'm going to show you some examples of the company. The number one thing I tell people with how to get comfortable is to build relationships. If it's with a coworker, get to know your coworker. If it's with a customer, get to know them. Who are you going to have on video? Before you do any video, go out for coffee, go out for beer, go out for lunch. Get to know them as a person. But that's my first qualifier, because if they're not willing to do that, then you can just say, that's your standard, then you move on. You don't spend time on those who are the resistors so much. If they're not even interested in getting to socialize with you, then they certainly aren't going to be social on camera. It'll be way too much effort. Plan. by plan, I mean you actually put down, why are we doing this? What are our goals? Because the people you're doing it for, whether it's you're the boss, or it's for a boss, or it's for a stakeholder or a client, can clearly see you've thought this through. And what I always do is I set goals, and I use SMART goals. SMART is something that you can show: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. You have to follow a timetable. If you do a test at first you just practice. How long did this take us? What can we improve on? What do we estimate how much time would be? But that's why it is easy to be doing on-camera interviews. Like if I take something like this, I can get off my table where I'm in my office, and I can go right to our general manager or someone. They just have a really good tip. Boom. That's all that I need. That saves on time. It's on-camera stuff can actually be the quickest stuff once people get practice, and people can practice on their own. And you play to people's strengths. Like Nancy, our general manager, very knowledgeable, very personal. She's more of a QVC type of person. Gerald, who does the FAQs, knows a lot. Those are their strengths. Someone else is really good about referring customers to be on video. So I know those are my go-to people when I have a need and I want to switch things up. But when you learn about what are their passions in life, what's their why, how they got into the business, and they're telling a personal story, you'll see it all revolves around the story. But to get to there, you first understand what are their strengths. You find what makes their eyes big. And I've always done this in interviews, is once I can get someone excited and you can hear the inflections of their tone, that's what you focus on. Maybe something about why do they do it. Like for Nancy, it's so that she can spend time with her family. I mean, she's excellent at what she does, and this allows her to balance work with family. That's her passion too, so we bring that into her story. And that's the niche. What is my niche? My niche is I'm very good at doing interviews. I'm very good at doing social video, that I can do snack-sized stuff, whether it's storytelling, FAQs, but I'm thinking about the audience there, but I'm thinking about what will attract the audience so that they want to participate. I'm good about thinking of what's the number one question, and then, okay, let's answer this. I'm good about thinking of what's an incentive we can do. Like, here's some tickets we have. Okay, let's have some fun. And that does translate to people now liking our page, following, and commenting on our page, and us getting now brand advocates. And a brand advocate is someone who does it without being prompted. That's what everyone wants because it's genuine. And I say the purpose, your why. And I'm talking about why you're in business, why you're doing what you do, who you're doing it for, what are your values. And that is important to talk with anyone about who's going to be on camera, including yourself. Because then it reminds you again of why am I doing this? Because video is a place where you have to be willing to be vulnerable. That is a problem with a lot of people who feel they have to be stoic. But once you can start talking about this, it can be having coffee with somebody, you can do it with anyone. And you journal a little bit. You have really focus on what matters to you, and it comes in your tone when you actually are doing video. This all comes to your story. Humans are wired for stories. We've been wired since cave painting days. It's something that a good video producer isn't just someone who holds a camera if they're doing it for you. It's they know how to get your story out of you and make it conversational. You're forgetting there's a camera there, which is why I like using smaller stuff. A good interviewer makes you completely forget you have a camera there. I've worked with a person who's a good video producer, and I can just focus on the interview. Sometimes I've had to multitask and paying attention, looking here and there, and that's a skill. I used to work in talk radio back in Hawaii when I was in college, and I had to pay attention to multiple things. But it does train you for how much attention can you give in what's being said, and you also forgive yourself, because if you are a one-man band or one-person band, you might not pay attention to it. The video stopped here or there. You forgive yourself, you learn from it, you say what went wrong. You don't beat yourself up over if it's not perfect. I mean, I'll even say with Alice, I forgot to record her second version of her song, but I would say as I was so happy with the first one, didn't matter. But I always tell people, I'm going to say as a tip, is let people practice. And just say, we don't have to record, or I'm not going to use this one, but it becomes great B-roll footage, and sometimes you might have something you don't realize is a really, really good thing. But forgive yourself for when you screw up. Do you forgive me? Okay. It also works for people like, say, I'll use the example where I work at Raleigh Dime, a reward. First, for customers, it can be something like, well, we have these gift certificates, we have coupons to this partner restaurant, or we have concert tickets, like for North Carolina Summerfest, we're partnered with NC Symphony. And we look for things that is a match between if people like going to a symphony, who would like shopping in a jewelry store. And I can actually enter those into my advertising under interests and behaviors. Fine jewelry, symphony. It works really good for, then I can target just those people if I'm doing advertising. But I also know in-house, I want to make sure that I'm there for what is the help that the people on the floor need. Like, I'll show up a half hour earlier to help them set up. that is less stress. They show that you care about what they're doing. You look for those opportunities for, if you do this, you look for what's a reward that's extrinsic, like, okay, I'll pay you, or I'll give you this coupon certificate. You're still building social relationships until they ask to do that. And now that's what I got Nancy doing, our general manager, who never did it before, now is really looking forward, saying, hey, Grant, you got time to do this or that. So again, you first weed out everyone who is resistant to it. If you're at a larger company, sometimes if you're allowed to take a survey, I did this when I worked at a company called CDW for a year, and I was on their social media team, and I managed their YouTube channel. I said, let's have a questionnaire of people who just simply, they're not on there, then okay, they don't want to do it, but then I found employees who were willing to do it. Now granted, it was still scripted, which I didn't like, but it was them. It was real employees versus what CDW said is, oh, we need some actors. People don't want those who have no connection to your business. It's lying is what it is. It's professional lying. They're paid to be professional liars. That's perfectly fine when you're in drama, but when you're doing business, people get turned off by that. So now I'm going to show you a video, since my computer hasn't died yet, of when I had we had a customer come in who would want tickets to a contest, and I said, your question that you put on our Facebook page, would you be willing to do this on video? Now it's squares you're going to see because I put this on Facebook. And then I said to Nancy, can you do this? But I found, what can she do quickly? And you're going to see something she do quickly. Now she said, oh, but my nose is runny, or I'm feeling under the weather. And I said, I never noticed. She was willing to do this. So here is a little short video.
Hey, my name is Jenna, and my jewelry question is, how do you clean the kitty litter clay out of your jewelry? You try to wash it, but the clay gets all mucky and keeps your jewelry kind of filmy.
This is how I clean my jewelry at home. This is how my grandmother taught my mother to clean jewelry at home, and our master craftsman jeweler still approves of this method to the day. Now I've got a secret trick up my sleeve. It's called a mug and a Keurig machine. Hot water goes a long way to get jewelry clean. Now, I did my cat boxes this week, and I found some just grimy jewelry. Particularly, look how grungy that one is. This one's gonna give us a great before and after. This has got stuff all in under the rounds and stuck between those straight cut stones. So it's really gonna show a difference. Now here's the magic. Hot water. You can get fancy with it. You can put a drop of the liquid soap in it. You can do a couple glugs of our great jewelry cleaner. You get a jar of this in every bag when you purchase something from Raleigh Diamond. And in it goes. It's that easy. Just don't burn your fingers. The heat of the water melts off the grime and the stickiness that collects on your diamonds better than anything else there is. Just melting it releases it from the underside. And for fun party tricks, see how this has already changed in the stuff that's floating out? This mug was clean a minute ago. Now let's just start taking a peek. Already we see a big improvement. Little bit of a toothbrush action. Dunk it again, let that one soak, and we'll get to the next one. Now, if I'd been really smart, I would have brought my tweezers. But a toothbrush that works really well. Oh, look, that one's all clean already. Major improvement, just with a little bit of hot water and a toothbrush. All right, let's pull this out and see how clean. Oh my word, it's like a whole different ring. Look how beautiful that is with just a little bit of hot steaming water and a little bit of soap and a toothbrush. Now, a lot of people are gonna ask, what gemstones can I do this with? I have a little memory thing, a mnemonic device to remember. Your American flag of gemstones, your white diamonds, your blue sapphires, your red rubies can all handle super high heat like this. Now for your semi-precious gemstones and things that are not so hard, maybe you do the same thing but just not quite so hot. Let it cool off for a minute first. But again, that warm water with just a little bit of dishwashing liquid or this great jewelry cleaner that we give away, that's all you need. If you're ever in doubt though, and you're not sure if this is a piece you should clean or not, bring it into Raleigh Diamond. We will be thrilled to look at it for you, clean it, check the prongs, and make sure everything's in great condition. We want to help you take care of your treasures.
And that's when my computer dies. So to watch more of that, it was such a good one too. It was her answering a question. It was just one take, and her showing how to clean your jewelry at home. And it was in her wheelhouse. It was something that she could just do at the top of her head. She has so many things that she gives spiels to that is just so her. And what I understand is this is how someone is, this is how they talk. Some people are too worried about being too Southern, and I say, no, be that way because that's how you're going to be in person. The lady Becky you saw, she's good in person, but scared to death of doing video. And I say, well, you don't wear a burqa when you come to the office. It's not like you use a voice box when you're there. This is how people see you, and people don't care about those things. What they care about is that you care. But at some point, you just realize, okay, you only have so much time, you only have so much resources, and you will make a much better impression focusing on those who want to do that rather than making the case or those who don't. So what I am able to show too is data, proof. I said when I first started, what is my number one goal of how I could be measured for success? Because no social media person was measured for anything. It was just something to do. Or other places, it's totally unrealistic what their expectation is. It doesn't tie into business goals. And that's why people cheat and do fake profiles and everything. And I said, let's make this about something we can measure, people coming into the store. Because what happens is when people make a sale, they ask, how did you find us? And I was able to show, see, when we find us on social media and then further on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, I could say, see, just by people saying directly, here's how much we've made in sales. And that proves your case. And everyone should be able to do that to say, why should I be doing it? And when you get feedback from people too. So I'm going to try to remember some things at the top of my head. If any of you have any questions, raise your hand. And but then we'll take some Q&A. Here's some things to do is go mobile. I'm going to show you the equipment I use. Whoop. That's a good point. You see, what you don't realize is I have a microphone on me. This is attached to my iPhone. There's two iPhones I have. That's a 6S Plus. This is an iPhone 8 Plus. This actually has the best overall camera of any smartphone that I've worked with too, including on the Android side. Why? Because people are going to be a lot more comfortable with something they carry with them all the time than having to learn a DSLR, get all this set up. We have a DSLR. We have a light box for our professional product photography. I don't use it because that's all the setup, then I have to change the settings from what our guy uses it there. It's too much work, and the more steps you make it, the less likely you are to do it, as opposed to, boom, that kind of stuff. So I recommend having, if it's something that you just want to have very available, I just clip this on. I have good audio quality, because yes, you do want to be aware of how could you sound clear to your audience, because two big things, audio is sometimes the number one worst thing that I can't hear you, and if I'm straining to, then I'm moving on, because I'm not even paying attention to your message anymore. So a good microphone, which you can attach to your Android or your iPhone, this Sennheiser microphone, this is one of the higher end ones because it goes to the Lightning one. It's $200. You can get something on eBay for 30 bucks, really, especially if you have one of the older ones on the audio jack port. But I also have other things too. Some people need something to do with their hands. This is an iRig mic, and it's really good. I've actually used this as a mic overhead for people too. And like I use this for Alice when she was doing her music recording. And it just blocks out a lot of the store noise too. This one's 150 bucks too. You can get ones that are considerably cheaper as well. So also it's easy for if somebody wants to go back and forth or you put it in the middle. Sometimes I've had it underneath two people as well as over. Now I also have something that is the smallest microphone, because what if you're traveling on the go and you don't really have room to put a lot of stuff? This is a Shure shotgun microphone. It attaches, in this case, to your iPhone. You plug it right in, you can adjust the angle, and you can even set how wide you want the angle to be. You can also have it front and back too. So portability is great. Something you can even put in your pocket, your suit jacket, your purse, anything is what people love, and it makes such a difference. I mean, stuff like this is good for when you're maybe 3 feet away from someone, but to have that available, especially let's say you're at a conference and maybe you want to interview somebody, you want someone to interview you, or maybe you just have an idea, because why not have, oh, I just have an idea, record it. Some people do a lot of their Facebook Live this way as well too. And you never have to worry about, oh, but what if people are annoyed? People like that you're just doing it. Also, if I'm doing something where I need something in place, like you see there, is Alice has a little bit of a bigger tripod with an extra shotgun mic, and we have a wide angle lens. You can use something as small as a tripod like this that could hold open your phone. Just put it in place. Again, portable, small, and I always say start off with something that's small. If maybe you're in a place that uses a little better lighting, there are lighting attachments that can go right over your phone. This is something I actually put on that thing called an iographer. An iographer allows me to hold it and pan, be smooth. It's not a perfect thing, but it makes things so much easier rather than herky-jerky. This thing is something that you can adjust the brightness here, like that, but you can also adjust the degree of light too, so you can go from warm to cool. And why does that matter? Because natural lighting is, if we see bags under people's eyes, we might make a little notice of that. Again, it's still more important that you do it, but the more you test it out, the more you get really good at, you understand, oh, now my face is even in there. Now you're actually standing out better on camera. You can even set up on some better phones to be able to have your focus on yourself and blurring in the back, even in your smartphone. The technology is really, really good today with what you can do that would have cost many thousands of dollars beforehand. And now also, say the same thing comes with tripods. I'm going to show you 2 that I use. This comes down to how fast can I set it up, because I'm sure like all of you guys is you have many things to do. I'm doing social media, I'm looking a bit at business strategy, and I'm doing all this part-time too. I'm looking at emails, I'm conversing with people. So I'm thinking about how well do you use your time? And once you get a system, you'll know in advance how well it is. If you have a space to set up. Now, there's no studio in Raleigh Diamond. There's the floor, there's the chairs in front with the natural lighting. So I can set this up on top of that, pull this out like that, right here, move it around like that, and then I can put it right back on in. I've seen too many videographers, they'll take over an hour closing up, and then they charge for that time. And that's what you're paying for when this is something you can do, you can have ready, and you get familiar with it. Now, I also have spaces that I can't even fit that in. So I got myself a monopod that is super handy for carrying this around, walk with you anywhere, maybe something really high and tall. And then I attach my iPhone on top of here. Put this here, like that. Now this has some wear and tear, but then I move this around. I have a leveler here. This cost me about $150. But again, you can even just get a monopod for $10, and you just hold it, you balance it there. And these are things eventually you figure out when people say what kind of equipment I should get. It's really more about what are you doing. Yeah, and once you know what your environment is, then you have a much better idea. And I always do recommend, if you can, is to hire someone who can say, okay, then this is what you would need, and work from there. And if you have the time to learn. Otherwise, maybe do a few and work with a professional and say, okay, if your goal is to do this on your own, then they should be a coach. I even work with people I watch their videos, and I'm able to give them comments in a special place about, okay, here's what I like, here's what I would recommend. Like one lady I work with called the Illinois Mortgage Mom, whenever she gets inspired, she just has what she attaches to her car, and I tell her, make sure you're not driving. But then when she gets an idea, she'll share it with me, and then I'll say, okay, this is good, or this is what I would recommend next time. It's just a nice, easy way. So if I had to think about what's good, another thing to do is you don't have to do it alone. Do it with somebody you're comfortable with. Have a conversation with them. The 2 of you could be on together talking, looking at the camera a little bit. Who are your favorite customers? Who knows your story really well? You can practice with someone else. But if you think about looking at the camera as who's your favorite person, and imagine if they're in that little lens right there. They're stuck in that lens, and the only way you can get them out is by saying something nice to them. Then these are ways that you can be in a psychological state where you're feeling empathy, when you're feeling warmth. And that is the #1 thing that everyone should be doing today, is how can you step inside someone else's shoes and feel they're on the other side, so there's no screen, it's like there's another human being. So I think that was actually pretty good for me not looking at a presentation. What do you think? Well, we have a bunch of videos. How are we on time here is first what I want to ask, so we can take any questions that we have.
Is it 10?
It's 9:54 right now.
We have 20 minutes.
Okay, well, let's see if anybody has any questions first off, and I can answer those for you. So, yes, please. Next.
The video that kind of got cut off with the jewelry person, it's like, so should you care? She was like backing into the break room. You know, should you care what is in the background, or is everybody focused on her and it doesn't matter where you are or what's the background or that kind of thing?
I would answer that by saying you should care, but it doesn't matter as much as you think.
Okay.
Because people do like to see what we call behind the scenes. Like at first, when I was doing stuff, I was in my office, and James was like, "Oh, I don't want people to see your office. It's boring. It's drab, and whatever." And there'd be an argument that way, one or the other, about, okay, people think it's dull, but people also know it's your office.
Yeah.
And that's what people like, is authenticity and not trying to look pretty all the time, because we're not pretty all the time. Showing the break room is a behind the scenes thing that makes you feel warm and friendly, just like what I want to do is saying, here's how we clean jewelry here, and to be more open about it. Some people look at that as something they want to keep private. I like being open because it builds trust. And quite honestly, other people are doing the same thing.
And it's stuff you're using every day, like a Keurig machine. I mean, people have those. So
Right.
if they're using that to clean jewelry, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You know?
Now, granted, we do have really good professional equipment to do a really good clean. I myself clean the jewelry before I shoot it. But the idea that you are empowering someone and they don't feel like it's, well, I'm only going to say this to someone who's paying me to do it, or who's, I'll just say that for customers, or I'm hiding something. You can't hide stuff anymore. It really is about, I don't want to say giving away the store, but it really is about giving so much to win that trust of people shop. Even when people don't know how to do it, it's kind of like, oh, I watch a trainer on YouTube who taught me this really great tip. I'm getting results. But either people say, but I don't have the time now to try to go on YouTube and learn watch 20 hours of video, or I need some motivation. You're the guy I trust for the very specific thing I'm doing. That's why I would do so many video tips for the places I worked at, because it wasn't about me trying to hoard information. It was about being specific how you do it, and a lot of people just don't have the time to do it, or they still don't feel comfortable, and they want you to show them in person. So I do recommend showing those things, but I'm not saying like there's a rat going across the floor.
Right.
Okay? So you can care about it, but it's good to sometimes even ask your audience. You don't have to show it with everyone. You can just show it to a few people and say, what do you think? Don't prompt them for anything else. Just say, what do you think about this? Okay. Yeah. You had a question.
I did. What is your feeling about how much time or money you should spend on, say, live videos versus kind of curated videos?
I always like to say what attorneys say depends, and then they bill you, but I'm not feeling here. It's like putting the cart before the horse. If I had to say something, it would be, well, even a best practice is a best practice, because that can vary by industry, your customers. What do they like to see? Do you pay attention to what your competitors are doing to answer that kind of question? And how much time? Part of it comes down to is, first I say, what is the easiest for you to do? Because that will take less time. So like, let's just say it was Facebook Live videos. Okay, once you learn how to set that up and you have the place, do you have something already in place to do a Facebook Live video? Such as maybe do you have a separate either iPhone, or sometimes people just get an iPad or something that is just there for that, so it's already set up. That's sometimes what I do if I know it's going to be more videos, is I have it pre-set up, so I don't have to think about setting up and setting it down. That cuts out time. So most often it's about what can we do that we know is consistent and that will save on time. So that's really the bigger question. A Facebook Live is point, go. But it's also thinking about, all right, is your audience already there? Because with a Facebook Live, if you're on a business page, it's not necessarily going to do that well as if it's going to be on your profile. Are you letting people know about your Facebook Live? You can even send people in a way so that if you do a Facebook Live, it's a calendar item, and then they can be notified beforehand when your Facebook Live is going to happen. A lot of people don't do that. So part of it is you marry with what's the investment of time versus what's your expectation of results. I mean, other thing, if you're talking about like these items, I get these items because I do it for portability, which saves me time. When I had to set stuff up, it was too much time, and then ding dong, person comes in, customer, all right, the person was sitting down and has to go deal with them. I don't have their dedicated time to do that. That is the reality. It's like I have a great showroom to work with, but it's all dependent on what's going on in the store. And their job is to get customers, make sales, make revenue, make a profit. So I would really say it's more about what I showed earlier. What are your strengths? What are you already good at? Where's the opportunity? And then you find out what you should be doing. If it's Facebook Live, it's pre-recorded videos. I would honestly say this, before you even getting to Facebook Live, It's take what are the top questions in your industry or top questions of your customers and build a shoot plan and then just shoot that all at once. You can shoot it professionally, you can shoot it on your own, but do it all as a batch. And then look at that as, let's practice. You don't have to publish it right away, let's practice. But it would be like entering a surfing competition without first learning how to surf just a little bit. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Right. Any other questions here? Yes?
Do you have a good editing app where you can edit the videos?
Well,
Like
you
if you
said-
take 2 or 3 and you want to combine them?
Well, you said app. So do you mean app as in like software for your desktop, or are you talking about on your smartphone? Or
Anything.
Okay. Yeah. Well, first I would say is how would you be shooting video? With your smartphone, okay. So would you be editing video on your smartphone? Okay, so that's what it comes down to. So there are good apps for like what kind of phone do you have first? Also, I'd say.
Android.
Okay, you have an Android. I mean, there. Why couldn't it be an iPhone? Well, you always start with what's free, is what I say. Like even Adobe has Adobe Elements, but I will say is I need to brush up on the apps for Android. What I first say is go in the App Store, like for in this case it might be like Google Play, and see what's available for free and practice with free before you do anything paid. And that's why I tell other people, because you don't know if it's gonna be right for you. And sometimes they have a premium version or a freemium version. I mean, you're getting the free one, but they also get something that has more features. And you find out if it's for you. You have to start using something regularly and then saying, oh, I could really use this. Because if you just get something, you have what's called amnesia. You get something, you forget why it was there to begin with. So I would say it's not about a favorite app. It's about finding out what's free and what you want to do. Like on my end, I don't really need to do it because I use programs and I'm happier on the desktop side, but if I wanted to, I could use the iMovie app. I could just simply use my iPhone 8s Plus, which is a good editor tool. Maybe use what you already have that's already on the phone first and get comfortable with that. And then when you say, here's what I want to do more of, do you want to do effects? Do you want to do titles? Then you can find out from looking at the apps which one would best suit your needs. Yeah. Yes?
You were talking before about in the jewelry situation measuring ROI. The associates were asking customers where they had heard about you. Any other suggestions for measuring ROI in other types of businesses besides that customer response?
Well, sure. Let me ask you: is how much of your business would be in person, direct transaction, versus how much of it would be with the online sales?
Right now, probably 50-50.
Okay. So are you able to track, like say, let's just take online, whether it's a website, e-commerce site, I work with people on Shopify, my own Shopify site. Are you able to measure when there's a sale and conversion, the funnel where somebody comes from?
You can do like through analytics or something.
Yeah, through analytics, yeah. Because that's another thing. Some people don't even look at their Google Analytics or anything else. This all just comes down to time. And depending on your size individual, it is all, not just if I'm going to shoot video, am I going to take the time to see what's working? Because I do that too. I look at the data. So sometimes you may not necessarily have the time to look at everything. So I say I do a correlation. Like for me, I don't go by necessarily views. I go by deeper engagement, comments, shares. I go by, does people watching that now start following and liking our page? YouTube is easier for me too, and when I'm doing advertising, I'll have a little bit different expectations. And you can do two types of ways of measuring. One is engagement, another is transaction. Transaction is, okay, I want to be able to measure within right away or within X amount of time, 3 months or whatever, if you have a cookie in your site, that's going to be a sale. But that's what goes back to the SMART goals, to clearly say, how are we going to measure success? How to goal, if we reach this goal, it's success. Are you in the green light? Are you in the yellow light? Are you in the red light? And I did this when I was at CDW, and my boss then, it was a director of social media, was very good about saying, this is our goal. Where are we at right now? Red light, yellow light, green light. You just have to feel comfortable with measuring, and don't worry about if you don't meet those goals. The important thing is you understand what's happening and why. The other part is to ask your customers what made them choose you. Why did they come in? Like when I do video interviews, I ask them in the interview, I say, how do you find out about Raleigh Diamond? Just like I learned from one couple that I'm going to be featuring next week, it was from the contest I did on Instagram. It was win Star Wars tickets for Star Wars NC Symphony. They love Star Wars. I looked at it and said, who are Star Wars fans? And that's what got them in. Now she's popular on Instagram. They're an engaged couple. They're sharing this stuff with everywhere. So I measure it too as, do I now have someone who's a brand evangelist? And what did that take? So I say, okay, contest work. I say frequently asked questions work. The stories absolutely work. I have a 75-year-old couple that's getting married for the second time, which I call, being married never gets old. And now the guy is on social media, his wife isn't, but he's always on there. And now he'll talk intermittently about Raleigh Down, but now he follows, he comments. So I would say is, what are the soft conversions? And then if you feel comfortable enough to even ascribe a value to that, maybe a dollar value on what are the larger conversions. If you're a nonprofit, it's to get enough volunteers, enough donations. But be very clear in what those end goals are, and if you feel comfortable enough on what would be a mid-range thing that you could measure. Does that answer your question? All right. Who else? Let her rip. Give me one.
Mine was more on the equipment. Very good overview on the equipment. That was awesome. And then I like the word free, so that's where I'll start.
Like free booze?
I don't see that one as much.
Yes.
Really simple question on equipment now that we're talking about it. I do use an iPhone attached to like a GorillaPod type thing so I can twist it around. Is there a remote for stopping the video? Because I know at the end of the video it's always my arm going up like this.
There are ones that can have a Bluetooth device that you can press start and stop on. Like I had an earlier apparatus from the iPhone store that was just it was a really cheap type of tripod that broke on me. But there are devices. You can buy them separately on Amazon too, or even just call Apple support if you're on an iPhone. But I always go on Amazon, they're pretty helpful too, or B&H Photo. And just say you're looking for a remote device to start and stop the video on your iPhone too. And I use that. I mean, sure, there's also a timer if you need a certain amount of time to get started, but it's just easier having a Bluetooth device. But this is what's key is what can you do as a one-person band? And then what could you do as a two-person thing? I always think of if it's just me, what will I be the most likely to do? And then you start there. You start with, what do I already have? Even if you don't have an iPhone, you have a laptop, you could do screen captures, you could have the camera on you, recording. It doesn't have to be on you all the time. Even if you or someone is just absolutely way too uncomfortable on camera, here's what you could do. You can just do an audio recording of yourself. Maybe you have some photos of you, and you could use what's called a Ken Burns effect, where those photos move around a little bit too, and you maybe have a little bit of a soundtrack there too. It's an easy thing. They're free ones. I use professional ones. They're like $50 because I find that works way better for our audience. But when you do something like that, and you can think of, if I didn't have this, what could I do and be practical? And then you're making yourself more accessible to people. Like I'm still, with all the stuff, if somebody is so uncomfortable, can I get their voice? Like maybe you want to get testimonials. Make the testimonials stories, by the way. Don't just make it, I like this or that. Get their story. I always do that. But when you do something that is with what you already have, and you start off with what's their comfort level, then you can do amazing stuff with what you already got before trying to buy anything. Did you have like a specific thing that if you had a wish list for if you could have something, whether it be a microphone, a lighting, or a certain something that would be your next thing?
No, I haven't gotten that far down the road. I'm just trying to do what I can with what I've got, and want to know in incremental steps how to get a little bit more polished, because it is just me.
Yeah, and that's how it is for a lot of people. I mean, even at companies, sometimes it just falls on one single person. I mean, previously, I worked for a short period at a company called Lulu Press, which is how Alice did a video with me and over an author series. And I was fortunate to have a videographer, but I actually got better results for me doing it myself, because I could just go in and do it. I didn't have to make it a production. And in some places, there are videographers that are threatened that someone else can do it rather than welcoming it like they should be. But I always say is, like I said, what you already have. But just like we were talking earlier, just do it. Just do it, put it out there, share it with people, ask what do you think. If you get inspired to do something, how fast can you whip it out, put some out, even make it a little game. You have an idea, go. Like I sometimes play a game with two people of, all right, here's the topic, go. And now you both have a minute to do something, because sometimes people are, like me, way too long-winded. Make it a game and you'll get better and better. Yes?
Okay, I feel kind of stupid for asking this, but since I was standing here filming you, I was playing with the different ways to hold it, and I was told to hold it this way, but I looked back at my videos and they're sideways. So are the people seeing them on their phones now having to do this?
Are you doing Facebook Lives?
I was, yeah.
Yeah,
and
Facebook
Instagram
Lives. The very first Facebook Live I did, which is for Lulu, the entire video was being shown sideways.
Yeah, I've always done it this way, and then our workshops.
Yeah, you actually have to change the settings. That's why I always say if you're doing something different, don't make it public the first time. Anytime you're doing anything new, I made it public first time, or just say.
Sideways.
Yeah. That's all right. Everyone's gonna see me like I'm tipsy or falling over.
I also noticed for those of you who are doing Facebook and Instagram, I had a ton more viewers on Instagram Live just now than Facebook. I mean, they were like coming in one after another, and I got like 3 on Facebook Live, and we have a ton of followers on both. So we'll be playing with the IGTV app soon too, that little function.
What are your followers like on Facebook versus Instagram? Is it about the same?
It's about the same. Yeah, we have a lot more on Instagram. I think we have a lot more consumers. Like a lot of our Facebook followers are businesses and consumers, but then we get we have, what do we have on Insta now? 30,000.
I like how we're really into Insta.
Yeah.
But Harmony makes a really good point. Like Raleigh Diamond as a retail business does much better on Instagram in terms of engagement. But when I'm doing video, that still shows up at the top of the algorithm. And that's why I think it's good for people to just put something out, see what people like. So when people say, should I be on Facebook, should I be on Instagram, YouTube, or Snapchat? I say, well, just try it out for fun, see what happens, rather than, because there is no immediate one-size-fits-all answer. Even if people in your industry doing it, they're not you. And so yeah, I think Instagram, especially the IGTV, that might work for some, might not. But I think the bigger thing is, what can you be consistent with? Even if it's once a week or once a month. Because you're putting out an expectation for people. You want them to do something. That could be subscribing, following you. But if you only do it once and stop, and that's a big problem with a lot of businesses. They think it's a commercial. No, it's a promise. It's a promise that you're going to care for them, that you're going to engage with them. Otherwise, it's like showing up to a party once and then they feel like, all right, where'd you go? So really think about, in terms of your plan, what can I be doing consistently? And then you make that part of your day or your week. Because I do get frustrated sometimes when I plan stuff, but it's not treated as seriously as everything else. You need to treat that seriously, otherwise it will hurt you. Because you want people to come to you regularly. So don't try to do too much at first, but say, Fridays is my day to do it. If you forget when Fridays skip, that's okay. But at least put something out that time so that people always know that about you. How are we in time?
We have 4 minutes.
All right.
We have to be out.
Somebody give me a 4-minute question or a 4-minute rant.
Well, I have a quick one. You
Yes.
mentioned SEO like 3 times, and I have no idea what that is.
That is search engine optimization.
Ah.
Yeah, I actually used to work in search engine optimization really early years, as early as 1996. I was married to someone who was was in the space, who wrote one of the first books on search engine optimization called Search Engine Visibility. And it's translated in a few languages now. But that's how I got started with. There were a lot of people who were programmers, but they didn't understand user experience or customer experience. And even back then, we were about how to have a conversation with somebody, such as participate in news groups or an email list, and to be helpful to people. In her second version of the book, it's actually my chapter on this is what you can do in video in the early years, really early years, like 2005, which is non-existent for a lot of people then. But SEO and video are married to each other. I mean, not just simply on YouTube, but videos even show up in search results from Facebook. LinkedIn is giving more prominence to them. And why? Because our bandwidth is greater. It's going to continue to be greater. It is more visceral. We watch more. I mean, I jokingly call it the virtual ADD experience, because you go, where did the time go? And you see all these related videos on the side, or the next one pops to the next, and we do it, and we spend more time doing it on average. You know, the average person, your average customer is going to do that. Even if you say, I'm going to watch this video on how to do this, you get sucked in a bit, for better or for worse. So when you understand how to use keywords around your video, what I say is, if you don't do SEO, don't become overly fixated, but do think about, if you were searching for something, how would you search for that? Like our YouTube channel, I put in, here are keywords that are relevant, but I don't make it like I'm trying to have an algorithm like me. I'm trying to make it so that people like us and follow us too. Yes?
Real quick question about video and web pages, home pages. Does that boost your SEO if you've got a video on your main homepage?
Good, that's a good question. I say it's what to know about how website SEO works. If people are on your page, not just by the fact that it's a video there, but if people are on your page longer, that's one thing. You also have to be considerate of download time. You want to make sure the video starts up fast. This is why YouTube is not necessarily a good way, because sometimes you get the spinning wheel. because there's so many people and only so many servers. I recommend if you're doing a video on your homepage or on other important pages, work with a professional video platform. There's Vimeo Pro. I use a program called Wistia, which is, you'll see a lot of players like that. You have much more control. You may also want to consider doing closed captions, and sometimes it's just uploading a transcript. You can do captions in YouTube as well too. That's why I make sure my mic is very clear, and then it will sometimes as much as 90% get really accurate. It's a really good thing when you can be really helpful because you aren't always able to hear the video. You might be in an enclosed space, in a crowded space too. So think more about website SEO and what that needs. But you could also have a description. Some people on their site, they might include a full transcript, which you can, and that keeps people longer too. So if the goal is, SEO is based on people spending time on your site, people clicking through to your site. When you understand that, video indirectly will improve your SEO for your site. Any other questions? We have time for one more? Or two more if the second one is really good.
Well, you guys good? Have you learned something today?
That was great.
Yes.